Okay, so we're going to take a look at the birdsong worksheet that was an HL homework assignment. You'll notice that when I put it on my tablet, it kind of got in a weird order. So we're going to still go in the regular order though. Okay, so the first question is compare sonograms 1 and 2, which are from two populations of white-crowned sparrows. Okay, so some of the things you could say, they both have a steady low pitch at the beginning, here and here. So that's a similarity. And then they have a variable pitch pattern here, which is, it's actually called a trill. You're not expected to know what it's called. You're supposed to be able to describe it. Now, this particular set of sonograms I gave you does not have the actual frequencies. Often they do. Often the frequencies are here, so you can actually say the frequency is between this and this, which makes it a little easier. Okay, so the third part of the song, sonogram 1 starts with a high pitched sound and then it drops, and it does it let's say it has kind of two repeating patterns. Here are the two repeating patterns. Here on the other hand, it repeats a lot more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It has about 10 repetitions of a sound, and then it kind of just peters out, versus this one, which seems to has this, which personally I would ignore, and then it has this part, which is a pretty low frequency sound, and it's pretty variable. And I'd say those are kind of the main pieces. So this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'd say this one has probably 4 to 5 sections, and this one has 1, 2, 3 sections. So that's a big difference also. Okay, let's see, question 2. Okay, so let's go back. I'm going to change my pen color. So we're comparing this one to these two. Okay, so again, it starts off with that low-pitched sound at the beginning, and then it has a variable region. Again, it seems like they're bigger, kind of chunkier things, though. And number 3, because it's so dark, that means it was also the noisiest. And it's slower than in 1 and 2. These are fast, and this is slow. Okay, and then sonogram 1 has, let's see, and then it has these, which are kind of like down slurs is what they're called. They're much slower than the other ones. And then it doesn't have this section, this trill section. So again, this one has 3 sections. Okay, so question 3. Actually, so you could argue, I would say that they're both. So there's similarities and differences. So first of all, similarities, let me highlight. So these are similarities, right? This trill section is similar. So that's probably innate. It still does have these like down slopes here. So that's similar. But they still look quite different, right? And there are components of these that look quite different. It doesn't have this trill here. So I'd say it's probably innate and learned, because remember, this third sonogram was from a bird that was raised in isolation. Okay. So question 3. In 1981, Morton and Baptista published a study. A white-crowned sparrow had learned to imitate the song of another species. Sonogram 4, so that's this one, is from a strawberry finch. Sonogram 5 is from a white-crowned sparrow that had been hand-reared by itself until it was 46 days old, and then placed in an aviary with another white-crowned sparrow and a strawberry finch. Okay, so this one is a strawberry finch. And then this one was raised by itself first, and then put in with strawberry finch and a white-crowned sparrow. Okay, so we're supposed to compare 5 and 4. So we're comparing these two. So some similarities I see. Whoa, This end part looks pretty similar to me. And maybe this little trill right here looks pretty similar. But remember, the first one is a strawberry finch and the next one is a white-crowned sparrow. So are there anything else that looks pretty similar? Those are the really obvious things. Let's see what else the IB says. Okay, so both of them, well, I suppose, both of them have this series of like starting high pitch and going lower, but it still looks quite different. And then you can see that the bottom one, the last part, they both have a low pitch sound at the end. Some differences, let's highlight some differences. Obviously the beginning is super different. This whole component is very different looking. The trill, this one is very slow, and this one is fast. And then it has all these little chunky bits, that's true. This one has a very consistent tone, and this one is a little bit more up and down. Okay, so the next question, compare sonogram 5 with sonogram 1 and 2. So remember, this is a white-crowned sparrow, and so are 1 and 2, right? Actually, the first 3 are all white-crowned sparrows. Okay, so 5 and 1 and 2. So they all start with this, which is great. They all have a trill, right? They all, let's see, they don't end with this, if you'll notice. None of them end with that. And these all go from a high pitch to a low pitch, and they do kind of do that, but with shorter bursts. Okay. Okay, so some of the things could be songs are really about communication. It's about attracting mates, and really a species can only effectively mate within its own species, right, to produce fertile offspring. So it wouldn't be very helpful to interact with other species. Often the singing has nothing to do with territory. Yeah, also the structures, like the physiological structures of the birds might be different. Okay, and the last question in birdsong. So it looks to me as if it's both. It looks like the beginning part of all of these, except the strawberry finch, is the same. Or very similar. It's a low pitch that's kind of long, and that is a really good indication of innate behavior. Then you'll notice they all have this trill, so that's another example where innate behavior is probably there. And then the rest, though, looks quite different. So that part could well be learned in different places. So like these ones are all finches, and they may all have been learned differently. This one, remember, these two may share something. I'd say there's a pretty good indication that the 4, strawberry finch, taught the 5 about this low pitch at the end rather than a trill. So it shows both. Okay, that's it. To the next page. So sonogram 3 is from a white-crowned sparrow that was reared in a place where it could not hear any other birdsong, so it was isolated. Compare sonogram 3 to sonograms 1 and 2. I think question, had another part. Discuss whether the song of white-crowned sparrows is innate, learned, or due to both innate and learned. Go to the other questions. Okay, suggest 2 reasons why birds rarely imitate other species. One was discuss whether Morton Baptiste's observation is evident for innate or learned behavior.